We hear the tagline everywhere, on Carnival Cruise Line commercials, on Royal Caribbean, Oprah Winfrey, our friends telling us what? That they're living their best life. But what does it mean to actually live your best life? What does that mean? And on this video and a series of videos, I'm going to be explaining actually how you can actually live your best life and understand what your best life is, because it can be confusing. And how do we actually know that we're living the life we need to live? So let's go. Hey there, glad to be back today. And today I want to start the series of how to live your best life. When you turn on the TV, there's commercials all the time for Royal Caribbean, saying that if you get on Royal Caribbean and you take a vacation with them, you'll be living your best life. We know that Carnival Cruise Lines used to use it too. And multiple different stores, people that are selling you things, and the list goes on, tells you that if you buy what they have, you'll live your best life. But how do we actually do that? And that's what I want to begin to venture talking about in this series of how to live your best life, how to live your true life. So let's begin. So one of the fundamental flaws that I see with the concept of living your best life, and I just want to call it out right now, is how do we know what our best life is? Don't we actually have to find our truth to know what our best is? But what does that mean? So the first way that we begin to understand what our best is, based on what our truth is we have to do some investigation and begin to realize what we've actually accepted in our life. What are the teachings that we've accepted by others, by our parents, by our family, by our environment, right? What about the circumstances of our life? How we were raised, right? Our financial situation at home, okay? What the community is like that we live in. What about the state of the nation that we live in? And the laws that either help us or hurt us, right? There's lots of fundamental aspects that go into it. And we have to realize the teachings that we've accepted. And I think it's interesting because I know that a lot of folks go out and you do a lot of what people call soul searching, right? You soul search. And to me, soul searching means I'm not going to take for face value what somebody has told me is truth. And I think many of you watching this video right now maybe were raised in a certain situation where there wasn't a lot of financial help, okay? Where maybe there was only one parent in the household. Maybe mom worked 3 jobs, okay? Maybe there wasn't a lot of food to be eaten. There's a lot of different aspects. And so if I'm raised in that environment, right? Or I'm raised in, let's say, a violent family household, where every time I come home, I don't know if dad's too drunk and if he's going to beat mom, okay? And these different scenarios create the reality of how we were raised, right? And so if you're in that reality as a child and you see that constantly on a daily basis, what can your actual best be, okay? So think about that, because when we talk about how to live your best life, we have this stuff that we have to deal with, right? We have this childhood stuff that we have to deal with, and we have to begin to see the reality instead of the confines of the situation. The second way that we can begin to live our best life is we begin to search out our own truths, our own fundamental truths, by letting go of what no longer serves us, benefits us, takes us to the highest level we should be at, right? So remember, there's a lot of things that we were taught by our family dynamic, by the environment that we were raised in, right? And when we realize some of those situations, we realize that some of the things were actually pretty flawed, okay? Maybe we were raised in that toxic environment, okay? Maybe we were raised in an environment where we as a race or we as a group were being held down. Okay, maybe we didn't get all the best of options. Okay, so thinking about those types of things can really help you to begin to think, what are some of the things that I want to let go of? What are some of the self-limiting behaviors, maybe even some of my self-sabotaging behaviors that I have done my whole life because I saw mom do it or I saw dad do it, or I was told that I could never have this, or I could never do this, or I could never do this and make any money, or I couldn't go to this school, or I couldn't do that. Think about those limitations. And that's something that I really want you to think about. And I don't want you to think about the negative so much, but I want you to start writing down some of those things that were told to you that you can't do, that you would never be able to do, that somebody like you could never finish that or accomplish that. And I want you to start writing those things down because you don't realize it, but those beliefs are so ingrained in the brain that we make choices that actually hurt ourselves based on those old school thoughts, right? Those thoughts that were told to us, even if our parents were trying really hard, but they had been kind of beaten down by the system, or they seemed to be a minority, and they weren't given everything that other people were given. There wasn't equal opportunity. And so maybe in a conversation, we don't get things equally, or things don't happen for us, or we don't get lucky, or we don't get to go there, or we don't get to choose that. So begin to think about those things because those things limit us. And if we have those limiting belief systems within our own mind, we might not even hear them anymore. But when an opportunity does come around, we say no because it's too good to be true, right? We think it's BS. We don't think that that's actually something that we could do, or we don't have time for that. And so we say no to things that could really help us based on those old beliefs. And if we have those old beliefs in our mind, really, how can we really truly live our best life? I mean, we can live our best life based on those limited thought processes, and this is the best I can do and the best I can get, and this is the best that mom and dad could do, or this is the best that sister could do, and sister was the first one to graduate college. I'm lucky to be in my position as I am, okay? So I want you to begin to think about that because when we have the limited thought process, no matter how few of those thoughts you have, those thoughts get in the way of us living that true life and our best life. And the last thing that I want to talk about in today's introductory video is that another thing that I want you to do to begin to live your best life is to begin to investigate the things that you've accepted at face value. I want you to really think about it. I want you to research and I want you to investigate those things. I want you to be like the private eye about all these things that you've just accepted, right? And it's amazing when we begin to do that. Because when we begin to inquire about things, we begin to put our own thought process on it. We actually begin to have our own perspective, okay? That's the reason why I named my radio show Live Your True Life Perspectives a long time ago. We've been on the air for almost 9 years. And the reason why I did that is because we all have our individual perspective on life. But what happens more often than not is we take other people's perspective as truth. Okay, so we take mom's perspective of life as truth, or we take dad's perspective of life as truth, or grandma or grandpa, right? Or we take the perspective of the area we live in as truth, or our environment, no matter how oppressive it is this is the truth that I live in, okay? So there's obviously a way out of something, but if we believe in this limited perspective that had nothing to do with us and we don't investigate it, we'll never find and uncover the layers of our real life, which would be right, living our best life, right? And so I want you to begin to think about that. What are those things that you've taken as face value, okay? And in the next video, I'm going to give you some examples to understand what I'm talking about when I say, what have you taken for face value? And these examples are gonna hit home, okay? These are gonna help you to start the journal on really figuring out how to live your best life. Because there's going to be a lot of things that you didn't even realize you take for face value. You just took it the same way because you were raised in that environment. You were raised in that religion. I'm giving you some examples right now. You were raised in that community. You were raised in a broken home. You were raised in a family that voted a certain way every election, right? They had certain political beliefs. And I want you to think about that because those belief system that gets carried through a family is not your beliefs. And you got to really think about that because if you want to be a real individual that has a life that really counts on this planet right now, the only way you can do it is to be true to yourself. And it means not regurgitating what other people say and not regurgitating other people's thought processes or beliefs. It's about actually creating your own life based on investigation, logic, information, exploration. All of that leads to living your best life. So in the next video, I'm going to give you some clear examples of things that you want to really think about, investigate, and acknowledge to maybe probably make some significant changes or begin to investigate into making some changes to see what really fits you and what really no longer serves you good anymore. I hope this video has helped you. Please share it with your family and friends. And in the comment section below, I'd love to know of some ways that you've changed your life. What are some things that you've changed that you learned and you were raised a certain way, but over time you realized that it no longer served you? Go on and add that in the comment section below so that we can all learn from each other. Because I think a lot of us have made some changes, but there's a lot of things that we still need to do. Don't forget to live your true life.